Well, that sounds like blasphemy.
He's gonna hurt the
I
children.
want that man arrested immediately.
We can't do that, sir. This is America.
Sir, this is a Wendy's drive-thru.
The only thing you have to fear is fear itself.
Hard times. The only salvation is to be good.
Kids won't go to church
Be
anymore.
good.
The story of Jesus Christ arose from the desire of a sect of people in Rome to create a figurehead that represented the mushroom in allegory only. It was common for sages and seers who used mind-altering drugs like the mushroom to write down their ideas in the forms of poetry that expressed the wonders of the sacrament. It wasn't until centuries later that the church incorporated their own twist on things by editing the books of the drug poetry they liked and left behind the ones that didn't suit them. Jesus started out like all the other dying and resurrected gods before him, Tammuz, Osiris, and Shiva. Jesus Christ was originally an amalgamation of three deities: Dionysus, a vegetation god who dies and is reborn each year with the seasons, a solar deity associated with Mithra from Persia, and the healer priest doctor Asclepius, who was taught by Chiron the centaur and held the caduceus. This is obvious because Jesus has all three of these qualities in his character and persona. Rome took advantage of this nature religion and used it for their selfish purposes of control and manipulation. Most people could not read and had no access to biblical literature. They only knew what they were told. This is what led to the witch trials in the Dark Ages. We must ask ourselves this question. If Jesus wasn't really the magic mushroom, then why would the church have at least 100 paintings inside churches and images of Jesus in scenes depicted with mushrooms, or even going so far as to have him as the Lord of Lords, King of Kings of the fungal kingdom? It seems that if there is a way to depict Jesus as a mushroom, it was already invented by the Catholic Church. The whole reason the church had to go on missions killing people all around the world and forcing the idea of Jesus Christ down their throat at knife point was because the people already had a religion of the mushroom without all the phony baloney of Jesus. The Catholic Church is all about conquest and world domination through mind control, and Jesus Christ is their ultimate weapon. People believe in Jesus without knowing anything about him. The history books from that period leave him out entirely because he was a fictional character that didn't exist until Rome decided he did. In order to understand Jesus, we have to understand manna from heaven, the food of the Israelites in the desert. In Isaiah, we read about the bread of adversary and the water of affliction. Although the Lord gives you the bread of adversary and the water of affliction, your teachers will be hidden no more. With your own eyes you will see them. In Exodus, we read about the Lord providing the bread of heaven to the Israelites in the desert. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are out to go out each day and gather enough for the day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. Exodus 16:4. Then we read about dew and the flakes left on the ground in the morning. That evening quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. Next, Moses warned them not to keep any of it until morning, and to use it all in the evening. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell. In his work, On the Cherubim, Philo, who lived from 20 BC to 50 AD, discusses the mysteries and the importance of not revealing them to the profane. But that we may describe the conception and the parturition of virtues, let the superstitious either stop their ears or else let them depart, for we are about to teach those initiated persons, those who are worthy of knowledge of the most sacred mysteries, the whole nature of such divine and secret ordinances. Philo also speaks of manna as the food of wisdom. Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise them up until the last day. For my flesh is real food, and my blood is real drink. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in them. Just as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so the one who feeds on me will live because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven. Your ancestors ate manna and died, but whoever feeds on this bread will live forever. This is the story of immortality once again. The mushroom and the psychedelic experience cause the initiate to experience a form of death which allows them to know that their spirit truly lives forever. The whole idea that you would eat the flesh of Jesus and drink his blood, and this is represented by the Eucharist in the Christian religion, is literally the sacrifice of eating the magic mushroom. It's the same as what occurred in the Rig Veda and the Soma sacrifice. The fact that Christians glorify the sacrifice of Jesus and the head of John the Baptist should really tell you something. The church is telling you the truth about child and human sacrifice, and it's all about the virgin birth of the mushroom, the Virgin Mary, and the harvesting or beheading of the mushroom. This is a recurring theme in medieval church art, and sometimes it's really revealing what the true intentions of the allegories or metaphors. Remember, we wouldn't be seeing images like this if there was no connection here. I can't make all this stuff up by myself. Another story besides the crucifixion of Jesus and the beheading of John the Baptist and serving of his head on a platter is the story of Judith beheading Holofernes, which is told in the book of Judith. There's several examples of secret mushroom symbolism in church depictions of this story as well. When the Greeks and Romans traveled the world conquering mushroom-consuming tribal clans, the stories they always sold back home to the people were that the uncivilized barbarians sacrificed their children to the gods like Moloch and Baal. They eat their children too. This was the justification for slaughtering the native people all over the world. This started with the Greeks decimated the Amazons, the Romans decimating the Druids, and then the Catholic Spaniards decimating the Aztecs and the Mayans. In every example, the native people were known to consume the magic mushroom as a fact, and we have no real evidence that they ever sacrificed people. But this is exactly the lie the Catholic Church sold to the world, while the whole time they knew exactly what they were doing, that sacrifice was secret mushroom consumption symbolism. The Virgin Mary is based on the mushroom's virgin birth. A hermaphroditic species is said to be born from a virgin. That's what virgin birth is. Sacrificing virgins means eating mushrooms. There's nothing real when it comes to virgin sacrifice. It's mushroom mythology. The church lied once again. What else did they lie about? How about the devil? Is there really a devil if there's no Jesus? The devil was invented in Zoroastrianism in Persia in the text called the Zendavesta. The forces of good were pitted against the forces of darkness. Over time, Ahura Mazda represented qualities including good mind, righteous order, divine plenty, devotion, perfect sovereignty, and wholeness, were pitted against Angra Mainyu, who represented evil mind, false appearance, cowardice, hypocrisy, misery, and extinction. There was no devil before this time period of 2200 to 2000 BC. The books of the Old Testament were compiled approximately 500 years later. So what was the devil then? It was the negative side of the human psyche that was pitted in mortal combat with the goodness inside oneself. The devil only exists in the mind. The church knows this but scares the shit out of people with superstition and ignorance in order to control them and make them obey the church. Moses had bull horns, and so does the devil. They are bull horns because the mushroom grows up from bull dung. The idea of hell comes from the location of the mushroom's birth, underground, in the soil, where it's dark and dreary. Religion is nothing more than a bunch of bullshit. The devil's horns represent the mushroom, and this can be proven when one is shown all the imagery of the devil that exists in medieval church manuscripts. If the church really took Jesus or the devil seriously, would they ever allow these kinds of images to exist, which reveal the secret symbolism of the magic mushroom? Would entrances to the underworld be flanked with hidden mushrooms if hell were a real place feared by church ministers? Basically, the devil is the demons or mental illnesses accumulated from improper thinking about oneself and the world around them, mismanagement of thoughts and emotions that lead to mental breakdowns and aberrant behavior, unbalanced mental images and ideas that result from not dealing with the shadow self. This is called by many practitioners shadow work, or taking full responsibilities, which means no longer blaming others for the problems in your life. The church wants to lay blame on every other person or entity, God or the devil, outside yourself, so you never have to confront your own truths. It's ghosts or demons behind everything, or interdimensional entities, or whatever they come up with next. That's the disempowering trick to rob you of your soul and mental capacity to think critically and deal with life constructively. What I'm talking about is self-empowerment and taking your power back. This concludes the presentation titled You Can't Unsee It, Episode 7, Jesus Christ, the Virgin, the Devil, and Hades. For more information on the subject, visit ancientpsychedelia.com and check out the free online version of the book, Ancient Psychedelia, Alien Gods and Mushroom Goddesses. Thanks for watching. One last thing I should mention, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support me in my work, here are several ways you can do that. It does help tremendously, and I really appreciate it.